Before we begin, imagine standing in the silent desert under dying moon, and the person you love whispers, "This is my last night with you." Tonight's story is one of heartbreak, loyalty, and a love torn between two worlds. If you enjoy powerful tales like this, make sure you subscribe, share, and leave a comment below. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Now settle in, because what you're about to hear might stay with you long after the fire burns out. Let's start the story. The night settled over the San Pedro Valley like a heavy velvet curtain, hiding everything except the glow of a small fire flickering against the stones. A dry wind whispered through the yucca, carrying with it the scent of mesquite smoke and the distant cries of coyotes. But the desert's usual voice felt different tonight, quieter, watchful, as if it knew something was about to break. Jesse McGraw sensed it too. He sat near the flames, sharpening his old hunting knife by habit more than need, though his eyes were fixed on the woman only a few feet away. She sat with her back straight, her hands resting on her knees, her gaze lost somewhere beyond the horizon. Her name was Naylin. To anyone else, she was an Apache woman with the kind of strength carved into people who grew from the land itself. But to Jesse, she was something deeper, someone who had walked into his life without warning and rearranged the shape of his heart entirely. He had seen her first on a blistering summer afternoon near the foothills, returning from a long cattle run. She had been gathering herbs near a stream, her movements quiet and sure, the kind that came from knowing the land more intimately than most folks knew their own homes. He had greeted her with a nod, expecting nothing more than a polite glance. Instead, she had studied him with those dark, mysterious eyes and offered him water from the gourd she carried. That single moment, simple as it was, sparked something that neither one had been expecting. Since then, their worlds had collided again and again, sometimes by chance, sometimes by choice. Meetings turned into conversations, conversations into laughter, and before either could stop it, laughter turned into love. And now, everything felt like it was slipping away. Jesse couldn't shake the feeling that this night was different. Naylin barely spoke as the fire crackled between them. Her silence wasn't the peaceful kind he'd grown used to. It was heavy, thick with something she hadn't yet said. He watched her from the corner of his eye, the knife forgotten in his hand. She looked like she was carrying a storm inside her, one she didn't want to release but couldn't hold back much longer. He finally set the knife aside and cleared his throat gently. "You're quiet tonight," he said, trying to keep his tone light, more than usual. She didn't look at him. "There is much to think about." Those words struck him harder than he expected. Naylin never wasted language. When she spoke, she meant every syllable. Jesse shifted closer, feeling the unease rise in his chest. Did something happen? For the longest moment, she didn't answer. Then she reached for something wrapped in soft deerskin beside her. Her hands trembled. Jesse's stomach tightened. He had seen her face danger without fear, had watched her stare down armed men and wild storms. But tonight, she couldn't even hold a piece of cloth steady. "Naylin," he said quietly, "talk to me." She finally lifted her gaze to him, and the sorrow in her eyes nearly knocked the breath from his lungs. "Jesse," she whispered, "this is my last night with you." The world seemed to stop. The fire crackled, but the sound felt distant. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. "What?" he breathed. "What do you mean?" "I am leaving at dawn." Her voice broke on those words, though she tried to steady it. "And I will not return." It felt like someone had slammed a fist into Jesse's chest. He shook his head instinctively. "No, Naylin, you can't just say that and expect me to sit here like a damn statue. Leaving where? For how long? What happened?" She looked down at her hands, tightening around the deerskin bundle she held. "My people are moving. Soldiers have come near our lands again. The chiefs have decided it is no longer safe to remain in this valley. We will travel far south, beyond the mountains, a place where outsiders do not follow." Jesse's jaw clenched. He had heard rumors about skirmishes near the ridge, but nothing concrete. Still, this valley had always felt like the only place Naylin belonged, a place she fought for, defended, cherished. Leaving it meant something more than relocation. It meant loss. "Then I'll go with you," he said quickly, without hesitation. Her eyes snapped up, wide with alarm. "You cannot." "The hell I can't." Her voice turned firm, sharper than he'd ever heard it. "Jesse, my people will not accept you among them. You know this. You know the history, the wounds, the mistrust. They would turn you away, or worse. He knew she wasn't lying. The Apache had seen too much loss at the hands of men who looked like him. No declaration of love could erase generations of bloodshed and betrayal. Still, the thought of her riding off into the dark alone tore at him like barbed wire. "Then we'll go somewhere else," he insisted. "Just you and me. We'll start over. We talked about that, didn't we? A cabin near the foothills, a life away from all this tension. We can still make it happen." Naelin's throat tightened. He saw it. She looked away, blinking hard. "It is not so simple anymore." "Why?" he demanded, his voice cracking despite his effort to stay calm. She unwrapped the deerskin bundle with trembling hands. Inside lay a handcrafted necklace woven with black and white horsehair, decorated with tiny, carefully carved beads. At the center hung a small wooden coyote charm polished smooth by her fingertips. She held it out to him with both hands. "I made this for you," she said, her voice barely holding together. "A piece of my spirit to carry with you when I am gone." His breath caught. "I don't want a piece of you," he whispered fiercely. "I want you, all of you, here with me." Her lips trembled, but she didn't cry. She never cried. "Sometimes," she said, "wanting is not enough to keep two worlds from tearing each other apart." Jesse felt something inside him collapse. He reached for her hand, gripping it tightly. "Naelin, don't do this. Don't walk away." She closed her eyes for a moment, as if absorbing the warmth of his touch one last time. When she opened them again, they were clouded with heartbreak and something darker, resignation. "I must," she whispered. "If I stay, my people will suffer for my choice. If I leave, only we will suffer." The fire crackled softly between them, unaware that two hearts were breaking in its glow. Jesse's grip tightened around her hand, as if holding on might stop the night from slipping away. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The fire hissed and shifted, sending a burst of sparks into the dark sky. Naelin watched the embers float upward like tiny spirits set free, each one vanishing before it reached the stars. It felt like a warning or a reminder. She gently pulled her hand from his, and Jesse felt the emptiness instantly. She stood, her shadow stretching long across the sand, and turned away from him. He rose too, refusing to let the silence swallow them. "You don't have to choose between them and me," he said, his voice low but firm. "There must be a way." Naelin didn't look back. "There is, not anymore." She paused, her shoulders lifting with a slow breath. "The soldiers came 2 nights ago. They found tracks. My people fear they will return in greater numbers. You know what that means." Jesse cursed under his breath. He knew all too well what followed when soldiers believed they had a right to Apache land. Skirmishes, retaliation, innocents caught in the crossfire, blood staining the earth. He had seen it happen before too many times, and Naelin had lost more than he could ever repay. He approached her slowly, placing a hand on her arm. She didn't pull away, but she didn't lean toward him either. "Let me help," he said. "Let me ride to Fort Lowell. I know men there. I can talk to them. Buy your people more time." She shook her head. "Time is not what we need. Safety is distance. And distance means leaving everything behind, including you." His jaw clenched. "You don't get to decide what I'm willing to leave behind." She finally turned to him, and for the first time all evening, he saw the truth she'd been hiding: fear. Not fear of soldiers or danger. Fear of choice. Fear of breaking. Fear of loving someone she could not keep. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If my people see me choose you, they will call me a traitor. If your people see you choose me, they will call you a fool. And both sides will suffer because of us." "Let them talk," Jesse said stubbornly. "I don't give a damn what anyone thinks." "But I do," she said softly, "because I must carry their burdens, not just my own." The wind brushed between them, scattering dust across their boots. Jesse lifted the necklace from its place in the deerskin, the horsehair strands catching the moonlight. "Why give me this if you're planning to ride away forever?" She swallowed, her eyes glistening. "Because love does not disappear when distance grows. It becomes something we carry instead of something we hold. Tonight, this is all I can give you." His voice broke, raw and unguarded. "Naelin, I can't lose you." She stepped closer, placing her palm against his cheek. Her touch was gentle, steady, grounding. You will not lose me, she said. You will remember me. There is a difference. He covered her hand with his own, pressing it against his skin. That's not enough. It must be, she whispered. Then she leaned in, her forehead resting against his. The moment wrapped around them like a cocoon. Her breath trembled against his lips. He closed his eyes, absorbing everything, her scent, her warmth, the quiet strength she carried in every movement. He wished he could freeze the world right then, hold her there forever. But she slowly pulled away. The fire burned low, shrinking into glowing coals. Jesse tried one last time, desperation slipping through his voice. Run away with me tonight. We'll ride east, cross the Rio Grande. No one will follow. Her eyes softened with longing, but she shook her head. You dream with your heart. I must live with reality. What reality? He demanded. The reality that my people need me. My mother is ill. My little brother cannot travel far without help. My grandmother cannot walk long distances. I cannot abandon them. I will not. He felt the finality in her tone. It was like a cold blade sliding between his ribs. She stepped back and began tying up her small medicine satchel. Then she reached for her cloak. Her movements were slow, heavy with sorrow, but resolute. When she looked at him again, the tears she had held back finally shone openly in her eyes. I never wished for this ending, she said, but some stories are not meant to continue in the way we hope. Jesse's voice cracked. So that's it, you walk away and we pretend none of this ever happened. No, she said, we remember, that is all we can do now. He stood there helpless, watching her gather the last pieces of her world into her pack. When she finished, she hesitated, just enough for him to hope she might change her mind. Then she walked to him, placing one final kiss on his lips. It lingered long and slow, filled with everything they had been and everything they could never be. When she stepped back, both of them were shaking. Nayland's voice was almost a breath. Goodbye, Jesse. He tried to speak, but no sound came out. She turned and walked toward the shadows where her horse waited, the moonlight tracing her silhouette. Jesse watched, heart pounding, throat tight. Every step she took felt like a page tearing from the book of his life. When she mounted her horse, he unconsciously took a step forward, but stopped when she raised her hand in a silent plea. Let me go, she said. He stood frozen, breath unsteady. Without another word, she nudged the horse forward. The animal moved into the darkness, hooves whispering over sand. Her figure grew smaller, then vanished completely. Jesse felt the world collapse around him. He sank to his knees, gripping the necklace so tightly the beads pressed into his palm. The fire crackled one last time before fading into embers. The night felt endless. But somewhere in the wind, he heard her voice, soft, far, carried across the valley like a memory refusing to die. He placed the necklace around his neck, closed his eyes, and whispered into the darkness, I'll remember you, always. And in that quiet desert night, memory was all that remained.